Hey everybody, welcome to Heroes Out. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Paul.
And this is part 2 of our real life events that should have been made into movies. Hope you enjoy.
So yeah, my next movie pitch is a person surrounding an event, quite a mighty event as well. World War II.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. Go on.
I think it was an indie, small border clash or something like that. You know,
pretty immense stuff.
It's based on a person, which would be Group Captain Douglas Bader. Second name's kind of thing, because he is a RAF pilot. He is an interesting character. Which is he in 1931 he lost his legs in an aircraft accident.
Okay.
Retired from the RAF.
Oh well, understandably, the legs thing.
Then World War II broke out, and he was reinstated as a RAF pilot.
Yeah, sure. Why stay in retirement when you've lost your legs in a previous war, essentially?
So, so he got back into the cockpit. And so he did quite a bit.
Jesus, Dougie, don't stay down.
No, not at all. He has an amazing kind of RAF pilot career. 22 aerial victories, which is a whole host of joint shared victories with Allied commands and stuff. A big advocate of the big wing theory, which is kind of not controversial, but kind of like a conflicting theory of resources and men over skills and battles, tactics and stuff. The interesting things about him is he's been shot down a couple of times.
Right. Specifically
one time in France, which he was shot down.
When he had no legs at this point? Okay.
He was captured and interned in a French prisoner of war camp.
Well, yeah.
He then subsequently tried to escape and nearly did. No legs. This guy is G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
He was such a bother to the camp, to the prisoner of war jail thing. He was moved to Coltswitz Castle.
Oh, off to Colditz, so he can get the unescapable place.
Yeah, so the unescapable place. So he's an interesting kind of character. I believe he was released afterwards. Or he was rescued for after the kind of the D-Day landings. But so he's an interesting kind of pilot.
Very much an interesting kind of guy.
Butted heads with the RAF quite a bit. Was a very kind of advocate of manpower kind of stuff. Which was then when he retired, he became a big advocate of disability rights and disability kind of. Which was charities and everything like that. So he's an interesting kind of character.
An inspirational kind of guy. Then if he was. He obviously faced some adversity. I'm saying that with just enough irony that, come on, some adversity. The guy faced adversity at every turn, and it sounds like he just faced up to it. I was going to say stood up to it, but God, that would just have been unfortunate phrasing. Oh, dear God. And then to go on and be a champion for disabled rights. That's incredible.
Well, disabled charities, disabled rights kind of things. So, I think not disabled rights, more of an advocate of there's nothing that we can't
exactly
do.
Fully able. They shouldn't have said disabled. Actually, that's a good point.
Which is kind of thing. But
differently abled.
Interesting. As I said, he was one of those the greatest generation names really plays well for him because he was very much the war broke out and he straight away was just I'm a pilot, they need pilots.
Yeah.
He took part in the Battle of Britain, Battle of France. Good story.
I'm not having this. He basically was like, war, not having this. I'm getting in there and I'm knocking this stuff off. Good on him.
So my pitch would be a biographical kind of film.
Makes sense.
Which was starting off with more than likely with his accidents and which was sets against retirement, kind of thing. So I would play this.
Have we got a style or a way you would show?
Which
would you? Is there a film you could give us an analog?
Oh, see, I don't know. That's the hardest part with this character because he's. I think I'd like Spielberg to direct.
Okay, that's a pretty good choice, I'd say there.
And then which goes Spielberg or Tom Hanks.
Oh, actually, have you got a star in mind even?
I don't know because I'm very on the fence of kind of getting like getting a actor who has the same kind of
yes, disability, I guess, is the right word.
like the same kind of like
situation. Injuries. Thank you.
We're trying to be very delicate because I really don't, because this is a very interesting story. The fact that he did like straight away, no problem, signed up again. So like I'm broken between a traditional kind of Hollywood actor to a actor with the same kind of.
Well, now I'm not making you take my casting choice as condition for getting a green light on the budget. So this is not the producer saying only if you do it with my guy.
Okay.
But what I'm going to tell you is you're greenlit. You can choose your own cast.
Okay.
I think this needs a decent sized budget. This needs a Dunkirk sized budget. This is stopping the 200 million kind of thing. I don't know if this will necessarily resonate with everybody, but Michael Fassbender might be the type of guy that could do that for you.
Oh, yeah.
Just shout out to you there, Mike. If you're down in Kerry at the moment, I'm already touting for you. If you need a new agent, got you covered. So
no, I like that pitch.
I'm not gonna interfere with your creative vision, sir.
No, like as I said,
cast who you will.
Like I'm broken between trying to find a like I don't know any actors of that kind of. That kind of caliber, so like Michael Fassbender could be
there. You go.
Good.
So you're lit.
Yeah, Spielberg. Yeah,
you're greenlit. If you call Stephen, I'll call Mr. Fassbender, and we'll get this one going.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Somebody I'm going to pitch. Somebody you may have heard of, but you may not have heard of, but you've definitely heard of what they invented. So I'm going with an inventor, a man. Actually, I'll tell you what. How about we do it this order? Most important things to be discovered or invented by humankind. Most people usually start with fire.
Yeah.
Then they go on to something like the wheel. Mm-hmm. At some stage along that, usually in the next 2 or 3 things, they'll say the printing press. Oh, what did you say?
Artificial fertilizer, but...
You jumped a few steps, but somewhere in there, so that they could work out how to get to that, they have the printing press.
Oh, yeah.
Because everything used to be done by hand. Yeah. And when I say everything, I mean writing... Books did not exist, and that means people were making mistakes, so you weren't all getting the same books. So it from a simple educational point of view, that was not a thing. Not everybody could afford to own them. You did have some printing. I know everybody's going to go, oh, there was printing in China, and there's talk of printing presses and systems working. This is the printing press that changed everything for, let's just say, the world at large.
Okay.
Around 1400, a chap called Johannes Gutenberg, not to be confused with his great-great-great-great-grandson in the Police Academy films, Steve Gutenberg, who coincidentally could play Johannes Gutenberg in my film because nobody really knows what he looks like. Because all artists' renderings are basically after the fact. So why is the printing press important? I think we can work that one out by ourselves. It changed everything. Thanks to the printing press, you have things like the Renaissance taking hold, the era of Enlightenment, science could become a thing thanks to it. Pretty much everything we have today in some way, relates back to it.
Yeah.
Why would it make a good movie though? Like that's not compelling. Yeah. It's the dude behind the invention and the journey he went on to invent it. He had a relatively privileged upbringing, but when it came to making his invention, his great invention, he didn't exactly have the funds. So he had to borrow money from people. He had the early days of venture capitalism.
Yeah.
People started putting money into things. So he borrowed money, and it took him a few years. To make the printing press was going to take a long time. It seems like an easy invention from a distance, but this guy had to come up with a new way to smelt and form metal to make the printing punches. So he came up with new procedures for that, which was pretty revolutionary. While he was in the process of making all of this, and this is one of the reasons why it'll make a good movie you'll start seeing now, he was a bit of a wheeler dealer as well.
Oh.
So he had some financial misadventure along the way.
Okay.
One kind of notable one was part of his pressing apparatus. He realized he could make money and he had to borrow even more money to do this, if he could make shiny metal mirrors. So they would use very polished metal to make mirrors.
Okay.
Why would mirrors be a big thing? Well, coming up was going to be an event that happened every 4 years, where religious relics from the time of Christ were shown to the public, and 100,000 people around Europe would come to this place to see these religious icons and relics.
Yeah.
But because 100,000 people back then, it wasn't exactly formed an orderly queue. There were people who would use these mirrors to catch the special rays. I know I couldn't make this stuff up. And he thought, I'll get in on a bit of that. I'll sell some of these mirrors. Unfortunately for him, he pressed out a load of them with his borrowed money. And before the relics were unveiled, a little thing known as the Black Death, a bit of plague showed up. So the plague showed up, and obviously everything was cancelled.
Wow.
So the plague got in the way of his business idea.
So the plague was a plague on his business.
Plague, I see what you did there. A plague on his business, a plague on all his houses. Unfortunately, that did set him back a little bit, so it took a little bit longer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed.
But eventually he finished his printing press, and he printed things like the Gutenberg Bible. He made one of the first replicated. He did that to prove that he could make a book of high quality, and there was still an ornate nature to it. So it was a very specific choice.
Yeah.
But that was also quite revolutionary because at the time the church were the ones who spoke the Bible to people, interpreted to them. Now he was making Bibles so people could actually own them.
Yeah, because he made them in certain languages as well.
Yeah, and he affected the class structure slightly.
Yeah.
So it made books more attainable. Other kind of things. So think of it in movie terms. He's faced his adversity. He's now going to be this massively successful guy. Mm-hmm. Except no, one of the people that gave him money to make it all happen ends up usurping him and getting him kicked out of the business.
Oh wow!
And it's not really the invention that made him wealthy. Now along the way, there's other funny little things, like he printed out indulgences, which were you could buy these certificates. They were religious in nature, to say that it got you out of a certain amount of sin, etc.
Essentially, get out of free jail card for certain sins and stuff.
Pay for play on your penance. I don't know what way you want to put it, but he ended up not really liking that he'd done that, and he released a broadsheet describing that he didn't like that. You may have heard the term broadsheet before, because it kind of ended up turning into what we now think of as the newspaper. Yeah. So the guy had a pretty profound effect on communications and the way we view the world today. Funny kind of, I suppose, way to look at this from making a movie.
So this is the pitch?
This is the pitch. Okay. And I'm looking down because I know there's a question you're going to ask me that I haven't thought of an answer to yet. But if you're thinking of a movie to compare it to, I would think it should be played off in a Moneyball kind of style. Like a real game-changing guy who's, give it that sort of quirky, outsider. He's dying to make his thing happen. He'll go to any lengths. Maybe a Big Short style thing.
Okay.
So in that kind of, make it dynamic. Yeah. Obviously take the cultural significance in, because he affected religion, he affected society. Take that in, but focus on him and the process and what he would have faced. Because let's face it, monks didn't exactly want to be out of business, and the church wouldn't necessarily have been going, you know what, you should all have Bibles. So,
well, you've also got the Martin Luther.
Oh yeah, Martin Luther was a big fan of the idea, and he's like, I think I can do something with this.
Because that was the time when the Catholic Church decided to do that whole papal thing, which is like only education that they deem necessary, and also possibly no education for certain people. And this kind of kind of wrecked that idea.
Oh, it unbelievably changed the world. Like it's a world-changing invention from a guy who, realistically, we should know what he looks like. And the fact that we don't goes to show you how his life didn't exactly turn out the way it could have, should have, would have. So to get it greenlit, Paul, to pitch it to you, I'm giving you the thing that changed the world in a Moneyball kind of style.
I like the Moneyball style.
I think I'm going to go for an unexpected director, I think, would be good. Like a Denis Villeneuve or somebody. Or even go the other end of the spectrum and go towards, I was going to say Ron Howard, but I don't think so. I'd love to see Chris Nolan's take on it, but I can't really pick Chris because
Oh no, he's working
on other things for you, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I don't know. I don't want to take him off the table.
Christopher Nolan could do a really good job.
Okay, well then I'm giving it the all-star. I'm going to say Chris Nolan takes this on.
Who would you get to play?
Steve Guttenberg has to be. I'd be like, that's it.
That's what you do.
Three Men and a Little Lady was not your final rodeo. I'm going to go straight to the Guttenberg.
Okay.
Because for all we know, that's exactly what this man looked like. So am I getting greenlit, Paul?
I did it. No.
Okay.
No, I am. Yeah, no, I would. I'll give you 140.
Okay, and I will take that as long as there's no interference, because if I hear one studio exec say that Steve Guttenberg cannot play this and no longer has draw, to you I say Police Academy 2, where he was on a thing on the beach. I can't even remember the subtitle of Police Academy 2. It's probably Back on the Streets or First Assignment or something. It was actually Police Academy 2 First Assignment. Oh, for shame.
So, if there's any historical events that haven't been made into movies or have been made into movies, but you think they deserve a remake, and let us know down in the comments below. Give us a director as well, a style of the movie, and also maybe your main character's actor. And we'll message back saying you're greenlit or you're not.
Yeah,
and the budget that we'll give you.
Yeah, we love playing with fantasy money because we don't have enough to really make anything. So. Give us your ideas, we'll steal them and we'll take them to real studios. See you next time. I've been Patrick.
And I've been Paul.
And we've been Here's Out.
Finger guns.
We should start ending on finger guns. I like finger guns.